Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's NewsStand, and I am going to continue my exploration on what just exactly is woke, since the whole topic is so diluted. But there is clear outlines, and again, I want to make sure I make this clear. I am giving you my opinion. To say I could tell you an exact definition would be engaging in hyperbole, and that's not what I meant to do. I'm meaning just to explore the different topics when it, refrains to the basic question. What is woke? So now I want to cover virtue signaling. And this is the hardest topic I've faced so far, simply because what is virtue signaling? And this is probably the one you're more than likely to disagree with me with. But everything, and I mean 90% of what we say on social media or otherwise, is virtue signaling. Even if you're not meaning it or being aware of it, a lot of it is. It's a very vain thing, right? It's very form of, hey, look at me, I am this. It is very much so you can garner approval of the group that you identify with. So if you are, on the right, it is you saying, I hate leftist political correctness, when on the left, they would just call that being polite, right? Or, on the left, saying, I'm sending thoughts and prayers, they would look at that and say, oh, look, what a good Christian they think they are. So it really, really can be down to basics. And it's really hard to actually, type down what it is when it comes to being woke. But virtue signaling basically is image over substance, right? You want to look better than you actually are. You identify with a group, you claim allegiance to that certain group, and you want to show them your morals or outrage publicly, which is fine. But when you get into a different type of virtue signal, which is more derogatory, you start insulting or degrading your enemies to kind of claim this superiority or tolerance. And unfortunately, both of them do go a lot together sometimes. Sometimes you're just simply giving your opinion, but most of the times, at least as of late, we have seen it to be derogatory towards a certain group. And let's be real, in the past few years, it's been straight white men that have been the group that has been gone up against. So it's okay to be racist towards white people, but it's not okay any other way. Like, the mental gymnastics sometimes that you see with this virtue signaling is unreal. But for regular virtue signals, we are simply all guilty of it. It could be a simple thing like, okay, well, I need a selfie for a photo. I'm wearing a Batman shirt. I know people on my channel like Batman. Click, there's my picture. It's a Batman virtue signal. Now, I understand it's not like, I'm not trying to claim being actual virtuous, but it is a form of it. So let's take a look at different things. So when it comes to a sensation that I've covered quite a bit on this channel, I want to talk about the comic pros. Now, do I think they are bad people? No. Do I think they are sometimes mildly ignorant? Absolutely. But they live in an echo chamber, which I'm going to cover tomorrow, I believe. And it is, you are a great writer. You are doing great. You are perfect. You are perfect. They don't even realize sometimes the ignorance that they have, right? And then we got this ad hominem phenomenon where we have name calling. So it's racist, bigot, Nazi, fascist. And then on the other side, it's cuck, snowflakes, beta male, NPC. These words, every single one of them now have no meaning. And not only that, but in a weird way, they are a virtue signal themselves, saying, look at me, I am not a beta male. Look at me, I am not a racist. By calling somebody else that, how could I be it? Because I know I'm not one. It is a simple thing, but it is very much so a virtue signal. And another thing that Marvel tends to do, and not even so much DC, I hate to always say that, because DC, I just reviewed Wonder Woman recently, and that would be a perfect example of virtue signaling. Instead of using Marvel, I'll use that, actually. So, we have, Diana, She's from a, Themyscira, all women. Oh, I can't even remember the woman's name. I'll put it on the screen. Went from being obsessed with Superman to now retcon to being gay to retcon to, nope, she was an imposter. The real one was gay. That is a virtue signal. That is politics over story. Politics over continuity. Politics over your pocketbook. And when you get to that point, it's really, really when a company's so far lost. We saw it with Gaston in Beauty and the Beast a couple years back. It was like, oh, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay. You watch the movie, you're like, he is? Oh, okay. So we see it a lot with Harley Quinn, too. The show that just started, even in the comic. It is, okay, the show's been on for a whole season. We're not going to say anything about it. But at the end of the season, they're like, oh my God, they didn't kiss. Well, now they have. My bad. Spoilers. If you're watching, I apologize. Really bad about spoilers when it comes to anything. So, it's like, they don't care about the show. And I'm talking about you specifically, Bleeding Cool. I've covered this twice now. You don't care about the show when it is good. You don't care about the show when Harley is kicking ass. You only care about the show when you think they are straightwashing it. You only care about certain things when you think that they are whitewashing it. When you think Harley's sexuality is not being taken care of correctly, that's when you care. That is a big virtue signal. Captain Marvel, the marketing, Birds of Prey, the way they do it. And this is what I mean by derogatory. Look at what Ewan McGregor said. This was a movie aimed at taking down misogyny, everyday misogyny, right? Meaning that, you think most of the men in your audience were a little bit misogynistic. It is derogatory in nature. We see Natalie Portman, I think it was at the Oscars, wear that dress with all the women names embroidered. Right, she did that and then doesn't care about women really, honestly, at all. Come on, let's be real. So, woke pertaining is always a derogatory, right? So when it comes to being woke, it's going to be derogatory. It's always something bad or judgmental, usually some type of moral indignation, because we, by putting them below us, have become the moral arbiter, right? So if they are below us, we are their moral arbiter, meaning we don't have to look at ourselves, where we failed, where we did wrong, which usually leads to a long career life, of habitual lack of self-awareness. And when you do that, when you show that lack of self-awareness or show disdain for constructive criticism, I'm talking constructive, not your book sucks. I'm talking about you went wrong here, there was an error here, this wasn't true to the character here. Actual constructive criticism, most of the time you just end up like the ones you were speaking out against. And we have seen this done time and time and time again. These people hate SJWs, but yet, you're a little bit of one, right? These people hate the alt-right, but they act just like them. If you have ever read anything by Friedrich Nietzsche, he says, whoever fights monsters should see it to the process. He does not become the monster. And if you stare long enough into the abyss will gaze back at you. And unfortunately, we see that time and time again when it comes to these moral arbiters. And that is a big deal. So what is virtue signaling when it comes to being woke? A lot of it is marketing. A lot of it is the creator. And sometimes when, the creator has no actual faith in their product, unfortunately, they will use virtue signaling as a marketing technique. So they'll be like, okay, well, I know this isn't going to be a great book, a great movie, or whatever, like we saw with Birds of Prey, another good example. But we are going to really focus on that marketing. We had the different people, I forget her name, the director, but even Margot Robbie coming out talking about it's women power, it's this, it's that. So, and then you got the flat out lies, and that's pushing outrage for the clout. And what I mean by that is it is a type of virtue signaling, but it's a way for, and we just saw it with Harley Quinn, for free advertising, right? Harley Quinn, made fun of the Snyder Cut bros, and free marketing. You were trying to get the outrage peddler. It didn't really work, but even so. So another way is kind of it's not a reverse virtue signal. It's absolutely a virtue signal. But we see it with comic books. More crowdfunded campaigns than others would be like, bringing back what we lost from the 90s. I've talked about, I don't want the woman erased, right? I also don't want to be pandered to. As, you're making this book, and there are some, specifically I've seen like Super Harem and Vestige, some of the other crowdfunded books that are like, we brought the big boobs, forget the story, we got boobs. Hey, do you know we got boobs? Don't pander to me that way, because I know exactly what you're doing. You're doing exactly what the left does, but to the right. So, how does it really apply to being woke? It's really hard. It's really hard, and usually when you see these things, the virtue signaling to the left, it's usually because their product isn't good. And it's really easy to tell that, because once they start that signal, the product can't stand on its own 2 feet. Now, when it comes to, real, like, calling out virtue signaling, and that's what I did for a really long time on this channel, and I still do to a point, but it can very easily, and I noticed a long time ago, lead to a virtue signal itself, such as me calling out a feminist agenda within the comic, right? Am I not virtue signaling to those who dislike feminists? Isn't that kind of the same thing? So it's sort of this all like quasi-mortal judgment action, just dependent upon your beliefs. And unfortunately, for the most part, calling out virtue signal never works. Usually 99% of the time, it's not going to work, because then most of the people calling it out aren't constructive. Let's be real. I try to be in my best efforts, but I've gotten a little name cally and called somebody out for using their tits to basically get forward in a job and stuff like that. So, but when it comes to that, they feel attacked. The creator feels attacked, right? When they feel attacked, they feel shamed, they lash out, they double down. The signal just continues. We've seen this so much with the quartering and Susie Lou lately. It's just an endless cycle of virtue signaling. And it's like, when does it end? Or when is the line when it's harassment on either side? So, I think it actually took me a really long time to realize that, and it only makes it worse. The best way to go about it, I think personally, is try to see it from the other person's eyes. Every time I'm doing a video, before I start, I'll try to see it from the person's eyes. Even if their belief is different than mine, you have to. And realize, and I a lot of times I realize deep down inside, these people, they lack self-esteem. If they are dependent upon virtue signaling for their product to go, they usually lack something within themselves, whether it's self-esteem, whether they're filled with self-doubt, or they feel like those, I talked about motivational salience. I keep going back to different things that I've talked about, but they feel like they need those retweets. They need those likes. That gives them their dopamine rush, and they feel better about themselves. So if that's what they need, maybe eventually they'll grow out of it. Maybe eventually, instead of needing those retweets and likes, they'll need sales and money. So it's an endless cycle. So when it comes to being woke, yes, it's usually more than, 80% of the time, it is showing you this product is going to be really bad. Really, really bad. I would love somebody to prove me otherwise. When it comes to the marketing around something, if you can think of a really good example, besides I've heard Charlie's Angels was pretty good. I can't think of another good example of when woke marketing actually worked and the product was good. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong, but I think this virtue signal it's when it comes to being woke, it goes hand in hand when it comes to being right or left. It is all an endless cycle that we all, unfortunately, are guilty of at some point in our life. I know I am. I know I've made videos before. Even something simple as when I was excited about the Expendables. Sure, I was excited. But in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, maybe Zach will see this. It is all a virtue signal. And unfortunately, every single one of us are guilty of it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this. I think I'm going to tackle either race bending or echo chambers tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I really like doing this. I really like these deep dives. So let me know what you think, of course. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon and subscribe stars. You guys literally make this channel possible. Huge thank you to Cage the Mick, Robert Mick Twiz, Black Knight Fool, Brucey, Chris Z, David L, David Rafford, Jeffrey Allen Carnes, Mighty Balls, Mike Buckner, Maizen Barbosa, Ruskar, Ryan Decker, Robert Hoffman, and Doc Holliday. You guys are absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for all your support. Don't forget on the way out to like as always if you enjoy the content and hit subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.